Happy Labor Day weekend. Welcome to Vibin with Ashley Live. I'm your host, Ashley Live, and this is episode 111. My guest for this evening is singer, songwriter, guitarist, Samantha Schultz. I'm so excited for you guys to get to know Samantha. Samantha just joined the room, but I'm just going to introduce her properly and then I'll bring her in. So Samantha released her debut album at 16 years old. 1-6. What were you doing at 16 years old? Exactly. And then she went to Berklee College of Music and released her second album. And then as recently as in June, she released her latest single, Tingle. So Samantha, I'm going to bring you in and we're going to get this party started. Hey, Justin, Marie. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hello, Samantha. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you. So I know you were right on time, but I just wanted to give you the proper introduction and let people know what an incredible musician you are.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet.
Totally. And we're going to get into it because you've been a musician, I would say, what? More than half your...
2/3 of my life,
yeah, 2/3 of your life, which is amazing.
It's been
Absolutely amazing. So before we get into the interview portion of the show, I start each show off with a song lyric. So tonight's song lyric is from one of your songs called Together Alone, released in April. So I'm just gonna say a couple lyrics from this song, and you're either gonna tell me what these lyrics mean to you or what the song in its entirety means. Cool?
Great. Love it.
Let's do it. Just rest. Rest easy. Just breathe. Breathe easy. Know your heart can be at peace with me always. Through your darkest days, we will find a way to make it okay.
Yeah. So you're quoting the outro.
Yes!
Yes. So this song as a whole was written about kind of my perspective of how 2020 rolled out. You know, it wasn't pretty by any means. And not only was I struggling with my own kind of existential crisis at the time of, cool, I'm a musician, I have no work now, I have family that lives in Canada, I can't see them, can I see them? My friends I can't see anymore, I can't see my colleagues, and all the while there's all this stuff that's happening with social justice movements, with Black Lives Matter, with politics and that whole mess. And it's kind of one of those feelings where you get to a point where you're just like, oh my gosh, like I just don't know what to do or say anymore, because it just all seems so big and much more than one person can handle. And what I was able to take solace in was reaching out to people and talking to them and being like, having true check-ins. You know what I mean? Not like, how are you? And people are like, I'm great. I got to like go for a walk today. It's like, no, like,
yeah,
how are you?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of those conversations and wanting to be the light where you could, even though I was experiencing a lot of my own darkness at the time, can make so much of a difference for somebody who's really in desperate need of that. And you just never know what people are going through, especially in a time like 2020. And so, yeah, it's like, just take that moment to breathe. Just take the moment to rest. If you feel that you've been fighting the good fight, like, you need to be able to have the time to recharge so that you can go back and be the best version of yourself in those types of situations, you know? So it's just a call out to anybody of like, if you need a safe space, if you need to talk to me, like, I got you. I can just literally be an ear. I can be a sounding board. I can hold you, like, whatever. Because I know that there were people that did that for me in 2020, and it's invaluable in my opinion. You know?
Definitely. I completely agree with everything you're saying. Your sister Emily is in here, and she Emily said, "You're beautiful." Yes, Emily, you're beautiful too. And guys, if you're new to this show, Emily was the 5th guest on Vibin with Ashley Live, and this is episode 111. So, guys, I have been doing this show for a really long time, and Emily, thank you for the comment and the love, because you guys are like hours and hours away from each other, so you don't really get to see your sister like that.
Not a whole lot, unfortunately. It's kind of been that way for a while too. She and I went to college on different coasts. So she was on Vancouver Island in British Columbia. Mm-hmm. I was in Boston, and then 3 or 4 years we ended up totally switching coasts. Mm-hmm. So now I'm in LA and she's in Toronto, and it's just kind of funny how that played out when we were choosing the cities that we wanted to, you know, try our best at for our career. But the thing is that it's never been an issue, in my opinion. She and I have historically been so close since we were children, like little babies. There's footage of us just like loving on each other and being each other's best buddy. It's just the most charming thing in the world. I love it so much. But that's translated into adult life, and I know that things shift and change as you get older, but something that just forever remains constant is the fact that she or I can pick up the phone or send a text at any time of day, whenever, and it's just like no time has gone by. Like, we've seen each other every day type of thing, and I'm so grateful to have that relationship. I know that a lot of people don't have that relationship with not only siblings, but like family, and I'm really grateful that you know, she's one of my constants in the world. It's cool.
So sweet. And I love the family bond of like being close to certain members of your family, and doubling back onto self-care. Self-care is something that a lot of people just kind of didn't worry about, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, and it was like, whoa, am I doing the right thing in my life? Like, am I with the right person? Are my friends okay? Like, you reevaluate everything.
It was a huge catalyst for this big shift for everybody, an interruption in a way. I know that happened for me in a lot of different places in my life of like, wow, this is not a sustainable way to live. Yeah. There's so much in life that I want to be able to do and experience and be a part of, and I just realized that I just had no balance in my life. So from going to one extreme to the complete opposite extreme, was like, all right, I know I want to be somewhere in the middle, so let's figure this out. Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully we're at the end of this. I hope so.
I hope. I mean,
maybe kind of, sort of.
It's so tough to say, because I feel like there are different parts of the world that are going through their own pattern. Like, initially, we all kind of like had that big jump to get in cases, and then with the vaccines rolling out and people being able to take those, it's great, but it's starting to creep up again. There's this Delta variant again, and you just hope that people would do what they needed to do to not only protect themselves, but to protect their neighbor and the livelihood of their fellow country person. You know, it's so tricky. Like, in some places, vaccines just aren't available. In a lot of other places, there's a lot of misinformation. And I just hope that people go through the necessary steps to see that there's a great way to I don't know what the term is, but to take care of this. I think we're all really tired of it. And I think we just want to continue living our lives, and there's a clear way to be able to do that. So I hope that we all just have a little bit of empathy and understand that we're all on the same earth boat together. We're trying to figure this all out together. And so the sooner we get that done, the faster we can go back to living our lives, you know?
Yeah, just be educated and be empathetic towards people, because people are going through it
so much.
Where you are in the world, we are all going through it. Some people worse than others. So just be nice to each other. Be nice to your neighbors. You just really never know someone's struggle.
Never know. You never know. Absolutely. Always begin with kindness, because that goes such a long way. It really does.
Yes, I completely agree. So one last thing. Marie says, hello, my girl. Dad and I miss you.
Those are my parents.
Oh my God, that's so sweet. Hi, parents. Hello. So I want to start at the very beginning of your life. What did music mean to you as a child? And when did you start singing and then playing the guitar?
Oh my gosh, that is a great question. I feel like music was just kind of always around when we were growing up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dad always had his favorite like rotation of CDs he'd put on in the house. Mom would always have the radio playing like in the house or the car, whatever. So music was just kind of always around. And I think my folks really love music too. So I think that helps just cultivate a good desire to be curious about it from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always loved singing as a little girl, and one of the iconic home videos is me being a good little Canadian girl and singing some Celine Dion in the kitchen and like but I don't know, I was always drawn to it. My sister was the same, I know for sure. And later on, like I went to, when I was in elementary school, we had like handbells and we had choir and we had, you know, all that type of stuff that you typically do as a child just to like be fulfilled and to be well-rounded. And I just loved it. And so my music teacher in elementary school when I was 9 approached my folks and said, I really think that it would be in her best interest for her to start taking singing lessons.
Yeah.
And we had and still have the utmost respect for my elementary school teacher. She really was the person who kind of pushed me in the direction of, I see that there's something worth exploring. You should go ahead.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mrs. Gould. Thanks for your love. But it was from there where I was able to take singing lessons with the amazing Erin Gott. She was with me for a couple of years, and she really helped me understand like what it's like to, you know, really know your voice, and even if it was for 2 years. And then when I was 11, I started taking guitar lessons after being really adamant that I wanted to take sax lessons, which is like, sure, there could have been a reality where that was a thing. Sax is amazing, by the way. It gets so much hate. I'm like, saxophone is amazing. Yeah. And it was kind of just like a fish to water type of thing. I loved playing guitar, and I loved my teacher that I eventually settled with, Rob. He was absolutely amazing. He was fun. He was understanding, and he had me walking out of my first lesson knowing a song, which was so cool. So I don't know. It was just like, music's one of those things where I really feel like it was in my DNA to a certain degree, and it just felt really natural. It's always felt really natural. You know, I'm very grateful for my abilities, because I know not a lot of people can't play an instrument or they can't sing, and I just like, a world without being able to do that just seems so unfathomable to me. So I'm very grateful that this has been my life, you know? Yeah.
And thank you to your teachers. Like, you need to give, and not just you, but everybody needs to give props to their teachers in school. Like, 5th grade, chorus teacher, like, because teachers see something in kids that kids don't see. And then they say, oh, you know what? Your daughter should start singing. Or, oh, your daughter should really be a scientist because she loves this. Like, teachers see things in kids and they bring it out, and it's like, hey.
They really do. They really do.
Yeah, teachers are the heart of it all. And like, think about the teachers that helped shape you and how important they were to your life.
They were vital.
Yes.
And they have been vital in my existence in terms of music. Like, I know that without them, what I do now would not be as solid without them. That's just facts. Like, and I'm so grateful. I could list them all right now. There's so many amazing people. They're so great.
Yes. So please, if you have a teacher, anybody who's watching who had a teacher that inspired them growing up, reach out to them and just be like, hey, I loved your 5th grade math class. It was awesome. Because, like, I mean, I didn't love math, but still.
I was trying to say that's probably the last time that I enjoyed it. So.
But teachers are so important to our success as adults. And I think it's so important that we reach out to those educators, especially at a time when, you know, everyone was teaching their kids at home and they're like, oh my gosh, teachers don't get enough credit.
Yeah. Can you imagine having like 30 kids in your house and you're still trying to live your life? I so recommend every parent that had to navigate all of that. The teachers and parents of this whole situation
Yeah.
Props. My best friend is a teacher. Her fiance is a teacher. Like I watched, gosh, my husband's best friend back home, he's a teacher. There are just so many people that we saw get put through the ringer of having to figure out something so completely unprecedented that what could you say except every time of like, you're incredible and I couldn't do what you're doing. Like,
Exactly.
wow.
And the patience teachers have, amen, right?
Amen. Yes.
I couldn't be a teacher. I'm just being honest. So teachers, when they're rattling around like 20 to 30 kids, it's like, whoa, what's going on?
I don't know how they did it. I know I wasn't horrible in school, but there were times where I was a little sassy kid, and I don't know how they do it every day, every year. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. So you played your first live gig at 13 years old, which is amazing. Like, so cool. So can you tell us how that happened for you?
Yeah, so that was my first ever like paid gig. I had never had a paid gig before that, and all the performances leading up to that one specifically, I would go to open mics or open stages. I know that people call them different things in different places, but that was where I got a lot of time to cut my teeth and just like have my 15 minutes of fame, pick like my 3 songs, and you go to this cozy coffee shop where you have, you know, the Edmonton folk music scene people there, and these people are really pivotal to the heartbeat of Edmonton's music. Their passion, I feel like, is what makes the folk music scene in Edmonton so special. And so when I came on the scene as like a total newbie, and they were so welcoming to me of just like, you should come to this open mic, or like, we're gonna have a jam or whatever. It was just so beyond amazing to have these people who had been playing music for years and been doing the music thing in Edmonton for years to welcome me so warmly. And I learned a lot from that community as well, of just like what it is to sit in a room and jam and play along, of like having to pick up music of like, okay, that's that chord, oh yeah, that chord's next. And so there was a lot of musicality that was taught to me, I think, without me realizing that it was a musical skill that I was picking up in these situations. So not only were they teaching me, but I'm just like, the culture of the folk scene in Edmonton is so cool as well. Like, people really are just wonderful, open, supportive, loving people. And it was just a really, really valuable and beautiful place for me to be able to learn about music, learn what it is to, you know, get in a room and play music with people or to people.
Right.
And it was that community that gave me the opportunity to play my first ever paid gig. And at the time, Peter North was running, I believe it was Peter, running the Full Moon Folk Club in Edmonton, and he saw me at one of these open mics and found my parents in the crowd and was like, "She your daughter? I want to hire her." Which is so cool. And I was going to be opening for a lady from down in Austin, Texas, named Ruthie Foster, and she just was the greatest first experience for an opening act situation for me. She was lovely. But yeah, it's amazing what a community can do that truly believes in supporting and helping the people that they love. They did so much for me in my teen years of just giving me a chance to be able to go out and do my thing, and I'm going to be forever grateful for that, for sure.
Yeah, that sounds like such a beautiful community. Like, you're 13, these people just embrace you, and they're like, "Oh yeah, come jam with us and do this." And like, I can't imagine how much you learned during those formative years when you were a teenager. Like, most people when they're a teenager, like I said earlier, they just like go to school, hang out with friends, and then go home and like hang with their parents. But like, you're literally around all these incredible musicians in this community that just fully supports your artistry, and that's so incredible.
Oh my gosh. It goes without saying that I'm a very, very lucky girl, for sure.
Yeah. So from like 13 to 18, you were playing gigs all over Edmonton.
Yeah, that was, playing music really was my part-time job, and it didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much from then on till I graduated high school, I was concentrated in the Edmonton area, but I had a lot of really incredible people in the Canadian folk industry take a chance on me too, with having me come and play festivals in British Columbia and Ontario, and even some folk conferences and stuff like that. I got to do a lot of really, really cool stuff when I was a teen that I'm like, you think about it now, especially when you're doing the thing grinding out here in LA, and you're just like, just slugging along, just trying to make your living. You forget about the places that you've been sometimes. And it's really been nice for me to go back and visit this stuff again in my memory, because it's like, I got to do some really cool shit.
Yeah.
Like I really did. It's very cool.
Yeah. And it's like, how was it for you, like going to school, but then doing these gigs and then like being around all these incredible musicians? Like, how was that during your teen years?
I loved it. I was a busy teenager. I had a lot on my plate, but I loved it. I loved being busy. I loved being busy with school. I was on my school volleyball team. I was in jazz choir. I had these gigs on the side. I loved being involved in all of these different things. And the fact that I got to perform music technically on the side, because I was still a student, like I don't know. It's a really cool part of my life that I'm really grateful for, because these people they taught me so much. I don't really know how to describe it other than that. Is like, I know that I was able to get a chance to be on stage and perform, but I don't know, it's the people that really make the experience for you, at least for me anyway.
Yeah.
That make it that much better for you, of like building that community and meeting just fabulous people that you're like, I want to be more like you. I want to play guitar like you. Oh my gosh, you're inspiring me so much to be a better singer or whatever. Right. That's just like, that's one of the beautiful things about music, is that you're sharing so much,
Then for college, you attended Berklee. So I was telling you earlier, I have this thing with Berklee alum. Like, I've interviewed people that have gone to Berklee, and I want to call it like Berklee energy, because the energy that you guys have is positive and easygoing, and you're also crazy talented. And you all have this like amazing like light that radiates off of you guys.
Oh my gosh, you are so sweet. Thank you for lumping me into this general opinion you have. That's very nice.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of anybody that's gone to Berklee. So tell me about your experience there, like the people you met. Like, what did Berklee mean to you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have to start at the beginning of when I found out about Berklee for the first time. So my plan after high school was that music was going well enough for me that I was like, I don't need to go to college or university. I'm just going to go straight into being a working musician. That's my plan.
Yeah.
And my last year of high school, a friend of mine, Jamie Henry, shout out, I'll never forget that he's the one that introduced me to Berklee. Yeah. But he came back from their 5-week summer program that they do every summer, across all the different instruments for performance majors, which is really cool. He came back raving about this music school that he'd been at for a month and a half. And I was like, oh, I'm glad you had a great time. Awesome. Coincidence would have it, or serendipity, I guess is the better term for it. They ended up, Berklee, coming to my hometown in February of 2009 to do auditions. Cool. And like, I love Edmonton, but when people think about Canada, it's typically not one of the cities that immediately comes to mind.
Right. Yeah.
People are like Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto, like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. But Edmonton is like, that's why I love being from Edmonton, because I'm able to be like, this is Edmonton, this is all about, this is where I grew up. So I love being able to be an advocate for the city, in a sense. But so they came to audition, And Jamie was like, are you going to audition? Are you going to blah, blah, blah? I was like, I don't even know anything about this school.
Right.
So I ended up doing a little bit of research, and I was like, okay, like they're in Boston, and that's what they are. They're a music school. They focus on all this type of stuff, from music therapy to teaching to songwriting and everything in between that you could look for. I was like, this is pretty sick. I definitely can't afford this. So
yeah.
There's really no point in me taking a look at it anymore. My best friend, love her to death, still my bestie after how many years? Gosh, like 12, I think, something crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
She came to me and was like, look, what's the worst thing that can happen if you audition for this school? I was like, but I don't get in. That would be horrible. She was like, okay, but if that's not what you even planned to do in the first place, if you didn't get in, what would you end up doing? You go right back to what your original plan was. So what's the hurt in auditioning for the school? And I was like, logic. Okay, fine. I'll set up an audition. We'll make it happen. And my life was changed. I auditioned for this school, and I was lucky enough to be given a full ride scholarship by a gentleman named Gary Slaight, and he's really huge in the radio industry in Canada, like was on the cusp of a lot of things for kind of revolutionizing radio. And he and his family had started a scholarship program the year before I attended, where they would pick one Canadian student who had auditioned for Berklee that seemed to be worthy of the scholarship and what it provided. And I was the second ever to receive that scholarship.
Oh my gosh!
So now all of a sudden, in that's September that my friend tells me about Berklee. I audition in February, and I find out in April that I've got this scholarship, and it's like, oh my gosh, like we're going, it's happening. And so when it became a reality, I was like, all right, I'm going, and I want to get my butt kicked by the greatest. Right. I want to learn everything. I'm there to like have my butt handed to me of like, this is what you need to do to be a great musician. Yeah. I was just so incredibly excited to be around people that I could just be a sponge around, that I could just get everything that I could from students and faculty alike. And it ended up changing my life, literally. Going to this school is just, not only was I at one of the most amazing music schools ever, but I'm getting the chance to connect with people from all over the world, over the world, which was unreal. You're talking to somebody who's from Burma, and then you're talking to somebody who's from Italy, and then it's just like, it's so wild to have all these people in the same place, even though you might not speak the same language, how to play music.
That's so awesome.
So I loved my time there. I really did. And a lot of people, like, it doesn't work out for them, which is fine. Like, music is such a subjective experience that if you're not feeling it, and you're at the school and you're like, these classes aren't really giving anything to me, like, that's fine. Right. You know what you want, and if you're already working and you're doing the thing, hell yeah. Like, that's amazing. I know that I needed the training. I know that I needed the knowledge to be a better musician. And so I was there just like a flower in the sun type of thing. Like, give it all to me. I want to learn it all. Yes. And then the other big part of my time there, aside from just being a student and trying to soak up as much as I could, I was part of a singing group there, an a cappella group, throughout my 4 years at Berklee. And they really were my core family. During my time there. So it was really cool to be a part of this tight-knit group of people that we got to do a lot of really incredible things as well via that group. And I still have dear friends today that here in Los Angeles, like, I have known them since I was accepted into that group, and here we are years later, like, still hanging out. It's really cool. It's a really, really cool thing.
Yeah. And I think it's really awesome how many people that have gone to Berklee that then go straight to LA, because there's a lot of you.
There are a lot.
Big Berklee alum group out in LA.
Yes, yes, for sure. And it's like, you know, when I graduated, that was something that I was trying to figure out of like, okay, the door's been opened on America, because growing up in Canada, you just assume like if you're going to do music, it's either likely going to be Toronto. There's a decent pocket out in Vancouver. So for me, now that I'm having New York become an option, Nashville becoming an option, Los Angeles, it was like, I mean, these are all the people that I know. The majority are people from America. And it was a thing of, I feel like I have to see this out. That to come to Boston and to learn about American culture and deep history and music history, just to go back home. I love home. And I guess it was just, I didn't know about Toronto either. I didn't know about Vancouver either. So for me, it was just like, LA seemed like where the most, where there was a broadness of opportunity. New York, from what I've heard, is much more jazz oriented. You know, like Nashville, obviously a lot of songwriting, much more roots in country. And so LA, I just was like, this seems to be a place where you can go and kind of do whatever you want to do. There's opportunity for so many different paths. And then with it being one of the entertainment capitals of the world, it's like, you never know what you might fall into. I guess that's why a lot of people come here, is the potential for great opportunity. And I've been touched by a little bit of that every now and then. It's, you know, like I was saying earlier, you forget about cool stuff you've done. And I've done some cool stuff while I've been here. It's not been easy. I'll definitely be honest about that. It's been a hard journey being here to do what I do. But I don't know. I think I'm a better person for it. So how can I be upset about that, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean by that, because every musician I talk to, the journey is not easy. They're still on the journey. They're still grinding it out. And I give you guys a lot of props for just hanging in there, because, I mean, you started this whole thing like 11.
It's been a while.
Like, forever and ever. So it's kind of like, this is your life. So let's talk about LA, and what do you love most about living there?
Ooh, that's a really, really good question. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is weather. It's just like, it's hot right now, but it's never horrible. I don't know. I love hot weather. My husband does not love hot weather, so it's like, I don't mind it. It's so funny. He grew up in Texas and I grew up in Canada, and he just like hated the heat growing up in San Antonio. And after a while, I was just over the cold. So now every time we go home to Canada, he's just like reveling if it's winter. He's just like, I love it. It's so, and I'm freezing my ass off. And then when it's super hot, he's just miserable and I'm loving it. It's so funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, the weather is great. In terms of music, I think it just goes back to the potential for possibility. Right. You just never know, like, who, like a friend who might think of you for something, or a gig that you might be at that might just end up being one of the coolest gigs you've ever played at. If it's like a wedding gig or a corporate gig, which is where a lot of my income comes from. I do a lot of wedding performing and corporate event performing. And what I love about these groups is the people. Yeah. They're the best part of it. You know, like, weddings, after a while, they hit a formula. You're like, okay, I know what to expect or whatever. But it really is the people on the gig that'll make or break it, in my opinion. And so I just love the fact that I've gotten to meet and gotten to know so many different people that I would have never have met if I hadn't moved to LA, which is wild. What else do I love about LA? The food culture is incredible. Like, anything that you could ever want is in LA. Yeah. You just need to know where it is. You just need to go find it. The food culture is incredible. Food and drink culture is amazing. I love the fact that there is a Filipino town here. So I'm half Filipina. Okay. And that's something that I've been on a journey to try and discover that part of me, to know it better, to understand what it means to be a mixed biracial person. Right. I love the fact that there is like a whole part of LA where it's just like Filipino restaurants and shops and all that type of stuff. And so it's a cool thing for me to be able to get down there and like hang out every now and then and eat the food of my people. Like, it's so cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that is really cool. Like when you can go to certain parts of LA and you're closer to your culture and your upbringing.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like pockets all over LA. There's something for everybody. I don't really know how to describe it. LA is so big and so sprawling, which I know can be a downside for a lot of people. Right. That you might feel lost in the city. But at the same time, in tandem with that, there's something so incredible about being able to go to a new pocket and discover something new. I just think that's amazing. Like, there's like Little Ethiopia, there's Filipino town, there are like there's the like lowrider culture of Los Angeles. Like, there's just, it's so rich in history, I think, is what I ultimately love about this place. I do love history and learning about places that I've lived in. That's why I love Boston so much, because it was just like rife with history, good and bad. I mean, everywhere is good and bad, but I don't know. I just love being somewhere where there is just so much iconic history, not only in entertainment, but like surfing, with hiking, like outdoorsy mountain biking stuff. Like there seems to be some type of person who had a breakthrough in any type of place or industry or hobby or whatever that seems to be attached to LA. And I just think that's just so symbolic for the city. People are just trying to make their mark and do what they love to do in a city where we're all trying to do the same thing, you know? So we're all kind of in the same boat here.
Yes, I completely agree with that. So I want to talk about people that inspire you musically. I know a couple of your influences: Alan Stone, India Arie, Sheryl Crow. Can you tell me about those specific musicians and what about them inspires you musically?
Ooh, I could talk forever about them. I love them so much. So when I was younger and learning my own voice of like playing and singing and writing and what I wanted to write about and how I wanted to write, which is stuff that I feel like you're not really conscious about when you're starting to do this as a child, I guess. Yeah. But my dad brought me India Arie's debut album, Acoustic Soul, and I had just not heard anything like that ever. Like, I don't know why I was just so taken by her, but listening through that album again and again and again, I know that she was massively influential on my songwriting at the time. India is all about that inner journey and trying to understand where you fit in the universe, and is it a big role? Cool. Is it a small role? Cool. Like, we're all just trying to find that internal peace and internal stability. And I think she's been much more, that's been much more at the forefront of who she is as a person versus the music. Like, she has a podcast where she calls her listeners like soul birds. It's amazing. She's just like, if I could ever meet her, I would just be like, tell me everything that you know. I don't even know what that means, but I just want to hear you talk to me, and I just want to hear what you have to say, because I feel like she just has such an incredible pulse on what it is to try and understand to be human in this world. And I think that comes through so clearly in her writing. And she actually ended up being the catalyst for me to know Black artists better. Yeah. She's beloved in the Black music industry and culture and the music industry as a whole, I personally believe. Yeah. And so for me, I was her for all of her albums, she does this thing where she has an intro, an interlude, and an outro.
Mm-hmm.
And for her first album, I remember her listing all these names of people. And I was like, oh, I know who some of those people are, but I'm trying to like go through it in my head of like Ma Rainey, Betsy Smith, Minnie Riperton, Sister Puma, Tammy Terrell. It was just like all these names where I was like, okay, they're clearly important to her because she's straight up calling them out in this song, where she's also talking about people like Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan and like Sarah Vaughan, all these different people that are maybe a little more well known. So she allowed me the door to walking into Black music and Black artistry. And I just feel like that changed my life.
Yeah.
So much so that I went to Boston and I minored in Africana studies, specifically about the creation of American music tied to Black people and the African immigrants that came, the enslaved who were brought to America. And I just wanted to know everything I could. Tell me about New Orleans. Tell me about the Second Line. Tell me about, you know, the music in New York. Tell me about, I just wanted to know everything. Because if you're going to go to a country and want to know everything about it, to me, that's the best way. Dive right in. Like have these incredible Black professors teach you about this stuff. Like right from the goat's mouth type of thing. Like, I don't know. That changed my life, and that all stems from her. So she was able to bring me into a whole other, if not the founding group of people who created music. Like, that's just like, that's crazy to me. So I don't know. I think that's, music is a really powerful thing. And for her to be able to do that for me without her even knowing who the hell I am, like, it's just, I'm seeming a little speechless. It's just because I feel like I am talking about what I was introduced to via her.
Yeah.
I was actually just listening to like her third album the other day, and I went, I need to listen to her more often because she really changed my life.
Yeah, I think it's so amazing that she had such an incredible impact on your musical journey. And it's just like I'm thinking of when you said at the beginning of her album she was mentioning all these Black artists, and you're right, some people don't know who they are, and it's like, oh, who's this person, who's this person, who's this person, oh, I need to know who this person is now. And especially if you're in music, I feel like that's just a necessity that needs to be. Like, you should know the pioneering greats, and a lot of them come from the Black community, and I feel so much more enriched knowing about all these incredible people. But who else? You said Sheryl Crow. I mean, Sheryl is like, when you're a girl growing up and you're learning how to play guitar and you're like 15 and angsty and thinking your life is whatever, because we're all angsty when we're 15. Like, Sheryl was great. She was a rocker. She was in the 90s, just one of those chicks of like, I don't really care what you think, and I'm gonna do what I want to do. And I don't know, she came from singing backgrounds for Michael Jackson into like being Sheryl Crow, which is just the greatest transition to me. That's like iconic. To casually go from MJ to like being a superstar. It's amazing. But she was great. I love the fact that her vibe was, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to write what I want. I'm going to wear what I want. I don't really care. I think her being a little closer to the folk roots and the singer-songwriter vibe I was learning about at the time when I started listening to her, I think that was easily translatable for me. Look, chick with guitar, writing songs, love it. A little more rootsy, a little more rock, a little more folky, which is what I grew up with. So Sheryl was just awesome. Dad had bought her greatest hits album, and I ran through that thing a lot. And then Alan Stone he's a new influence. I don't know what it is about that guy. Like, I remember watching
one of his first YouTube videos that he put out. I was still in college at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was live from his mother's living room. And he was singing his breakout song.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of a wacky looking guy.
Right.
But this is incredible. Just being absolutely blown away by the voice that was coming out of someone that you would just not assume to have that voice.
Yeah.
And I think that I just loved that so much about him, because I know that there have been situations where it literally happened to me the other week, where I show up with a guitar and I get on the mic and the sound guys are kind of like side-eyeing me of like, oh, this girl, what's she gonna play? And it's, you know, like, that's something that's happened throughout my whole life, but something that I've also come to equip myself with is the fact of like, yeah, I can deliver and it's fine. Like, I feel the way that you want to feel, but like, we can never judge a book from its cover on any level, in any scenario these days. Like, you never know who is capable of what. And I think that I just loved that so much about Alan, is that he was like, this is how I look like, and I know you're gonna love me because I'm exactly who I am.
Yeah.
And I've just loved him ever since. And not to mention, he's a phenomenal musician and writer and singer. Like, fun fact, I got to be in one of his music videos a couple years ago, which was super fun. Yeah.
How did that happen?
They were doing, how did that happen? They put out a blast on his IG being like, hey, we're going to shoot this video. Mm-hmm. If you want to be a part of it, send in your name and information and say why you would want to be in the video or whatever. And I just did it on a whim, because I was like, I don't know, they probably have like thousands of people who apply to this type of thing. Yeah. And sure enough, they were like, cool, you've been picked to be in the video. Like, come hang out and be part of the like church congregation for this video that we're doing. And so my husband and I got to do that, which was super cool. Yeah, and it was for a song that actually was very important and is very important to he and I. So it's very cool that we got to be in his video for that song.
What song was it?
Consider Me.
Oh, Consider Me. That is
my sister actually showed me that song, and I was just like, I love this song so much.
Oh, but that's such a cool, like, fun fact. It's like, because you were like, well, why would I do this if like thousands and thousands of people are applying? But yeah, you never know, right?
It was such a funny happening that I'm so grateful it worked out. Got to like meet him super quick before he had to go shoot some other scenes, but yeah, he's a real one for sure. He's really cool.
He is such an incredible performer, songwriter, just his being. Like, when you see him, like, because he was on live the other day because he just dropped a new single. Yes. And I was just like, I just want to hang out with him. Like, I just want to be in the same room. Thing. Like, I'm just gonna like just watch him like a weirdo.
Yes, he just seems like good people. Like, just a good hang of like, no judgment here. We'll all just like hang and be weird together, like whatever. Yeah, just seems fun.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about branding with you, just because when I was doing my research on you, I noticed how absolutely beautiful your photos and videos are. And I was like, they're simple, but they're beautiful. And I just needed to talk to you about your branding strategy and what that means to you as a musician.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. These days, it's obviously so important. If you are, I guess, someone trying to be anybody, that having a brand it's become such a pivotal part of how people latch onto you or relate to you or gravitate to you or whatever. It's honestly been a little bit of a difficult thing for me. I hadn't released new music until 2020 of last year. Prior to that, it had been 2011, the last time I had put out music.
Wow.
So putting out a single in 2020 was so foreign to me. Not to sound like I'm getting old. I guess I'm getting old, but it was a time where it was, you print the physical album, you have CDs for people, it's tangible stuff. And by the time I got to Out of My Head, which was the first release of 2020, it was pretty much a homegrown effort between my husband and I of just trying to figure out, okay, like, what is branding in this day and age? What is distribution in this day and age? It was really this massive crash course of trying to just get caught up with the industry and how it had grown and changed.
Right.
So with branding, I think I've always understood that if you're releasing singles, every single has its own life and it has its own identity and it has its own vibe, and that's not a problem for me. Like, I really love being a chameleon.
Yeah.
And I think that because of that, it makes it really hard for me these days to kind of hone in on the package or whatever you want to call it. Because you can throw on all my songs and love them individually, but as a collective, it doesn't maybe make as much sense. Yeah. So the branding thing has been an interesting journey that I've been on, of just like, what are my pillars of who I am, and we talked about being Philippine and being biracial. That's something that I've really been trying to vet and understand, because being mixed is such a weird thing. It's like you're constantly living at a crossroads and you can't really go in any direction. Yeah. You're just like, you're right there at the X and that's where you exist. And so sometimes it's really weird to feel like, okay, I want to dive into this part of the culture, but I feel weird that I can't because I don't really look Asian, but I am like literally 50% Filipina. I don't understand. So that's something that we've been trying to research, trying to understand the physical as well, in terms of like what you're putting out there, in terms of style, in terms of photos, all that type of stuff. I struggle with social media as a whole because it's so hard for me to look at a human, say if we're not talking about me, look at a human and break down who they are into simple, easily grabbed onto facts or characteristics or whatever. Yeah. When humans are so complex. I think that's the tough thing that I have, is that social media tries to like boil us down to these talking points of who we are as people. Yeah. And we're not. We fluctuate every single day, at least I do, in who I am, like what I'm comfortable with that day with myself. So branding for me, I love being able to do the individual project and know and have the vision of how I want it to be executed. Yeah. There are some people that are just way better with the overall brand. There's a sister duo that I kind of grew up with. They're called the Command Sisters, and they live out in Toronto now, and they're amazing. Their aesthetic, their branding, oh my gosh. Like, I just like, if you ever need a textbook definition of branding, just go to their page and take a look. And like, all that they're about. You just look at it and you're like, yes, this is the Command Sisters. That's amazing. Yeah. That's something that I'm still trying to figure out in terms of who I am and how I want to put myself out there. And I think that journey is slow for me because I don't necessarily love social media. Yeah. And it's tricky because it's become a calling card for, like I said, anybody who's trying to be anyone. If you want to be able to just pull someone up and be like, what are they about? What's their vibe? Whatever. Yeah. That's something that you kind of need these days as a business person, as an artist, as a creative, whatever you're trying to be. If you're trying to gain some type of traction, IG has just become a vital part of existence. What I struggle with is the constant onslaught of the highlight reel. Even though we all might not be feeling great
Yes.
we're definitely putting it out there that we're feeling great. And after 2020, an important thing for me was trying to make sure that I'm honed in on my mental health and my mental stability. And so I've really just been like keeping social at an arm's length, because I realized that I just get into these scroll voids of like, they're doing great. Oh, I wish I could be doing that. You know, and it starts to spiral, and it starts to feel horrible about not doing something, even though it's not like you're doing terrible. So I don't know, branding is tricky. I feel like it's a multifaceted answer, just because I know that it's important, but there's so much about it that I still need to figure out, and that includes my relationship with media and social media as a whole. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being so honest about it, because yes, I think, yeah, you're right. You go on like these scrolling things and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been scrolling and scrolling. It's been a half hour, right? And everybody looks happy. But no, like there's all the ebbs and flows, and people are only posting when they're doing good. They're not posting, oh, hey, not feeling it today. Like nobody's really posting that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I feel like it's becoming much more, not acceptable, because I feel like it should always be acceptable,
right?
But much more frequent. I think that I'm seeing people being open about this stuff, which inspires me to be open to the good people who are still tapped into my social media accounts and presences, my media presence.
Right.
It allows me the chance to feel safer about being open, and you never know what might come of that for somebody who feels like they can't be open, and then they see like, oh, she's, even though it's not like a ton of people in the grand scheme of things, she's still being honest to the audience that she has curated and cares enough to hear what she has to say, and that might inspire them to be honest and open.
Yeah.
And to find their space to have peace a little faster, you know?
Yeah, I think it's really important to be honest on social media, because we all feel the same thing. Just some people talk about it more than others, and some people don't talk about it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree.
So I want to talk about these singles that you released in the year 2021, because 2020 was crazy, but 2021, you got back in it, you released 3 singles. So let's talk about these singles for people that are not familiar with them.
For sure. So the first of the 3 was called The Quiet. And that was initially prompted by a mentor of mine who was wanting me and a bunch of friends to write about what it means to be honest.
Yeah.
So I was kind of struggling with it. I had struggled with the concept for a while. And then it was, I think, like March or April, beginning of April, where everything just started to implode in 2020. Just like completely tank. And it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming to see people suffering. It was overwhelming to see people who didn't care. It was overwhelming to have it constantly in your face, on your phone, on TV, on computer. Like, it was just everywhere, and you couldn't escape from any of it. Just for a minute, just to recharge and recenter, there was just no space to be able to do that for anybody, in my opinion. And I just remember going to, like, just turning everything off and going to my guitar and trying to tackle this concept again. And this phrase of, if I'm being honest, because if I'm being honest, and I was like, what am I trying to be honest about? Like, I'm not good. Like, if I'm being honest, like, I'm not okay right now. This is crazy. Like, if I'm feeling this as somebody who is white passing, who has led a privileged, decent life, like, I can't imagine what these people are feeling across the board that are just getting it handed to them right now. So that was the concept. It was like, to be honest, like, I'm not good, and I don't know if I'm going to be okay, but if you just give me this moment of quiet and peace with you that at least will give me the chance to be able to maybe get up on my feet again, to be able to fight the good fight, to be able to support, to be able to be mentally stable for a day, you know?
Yeah.
So that song came to fruition, and that's probably one of the songs that I'm proudest of. It was the first time that I had ever talked about the fact that I've struggled with depression and I've struggled with anxiety, and until 2020 it may have been something that I was like pushing away because I didn't really want to acknowledge it, or it's not that bad, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful for the fact that the space to talk about mental health and being okay is so much more widely talked about now. Right. Like I see there's a friend of mine and musician artist, Ryan Nealon, who has these hashtag mental health Monday check-in, and he just like opens up, and the people in his comments will come out and be like, oh my gosh, like you have no idea, this has been my week. And people are just interacting and they're talking and they're being open as opposed to feeling alone. And I think that's just so incredibly important and amazing, that just letting someone know like, hey, I'm not actually great.
Yeah.
It allows them the chance to be able to be like, I'm sorry, like I had no idea. And most of the time people don't know.
Yeah, they don't.
That song was very cathartic for me. It has been used in various different situations where it floors me that it's meant something to people in a time where they needed something like that.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of that song.
Yeah.
And then Together Alone was the second, which you quoted at the beginning of our little hang here.
Yes.
And that song, in a way, became the sibling song to The Quiet. It was more of the external experience of 2020 as opposed to the internal experience of what 2020 made me feel.
Yeah.
So Together Alone is talking about like every day is just a struggle because I'm seeing this on the television, and like people are dying and suppression and there's fire and buildings are going up in flames, and it just seemed and was so apocalyptic. And
yeah,
there are a lot of songs that I saw that came out that were talking about like we're alone but we're together.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was just writing a little more about the helplessness in the first half of the song, about what we had all been feeling like. We're together, but we're all still very much alone in the situation. But where I wanted lyrically the song to change was also musically where the song changed as well. And it becomes much more warm and much more inviting in the latter half of the song. And the guy that I wrote this with, Chris Thigpen, he's amazing, incredible musician from out of Chicago. He's been here for a while in LA. He brought me in to write this song or co-write with him based off of a conversation that we had like the week or two before, where I was like, I'm not really great.
Yeah.
It's been really hard lately. And he was just like, I don't want you to be involved if this is going to make you feel uncomfortable, but the way that you were being candid with me, I think would just be beautiful if you'd be able to put that into a song. And so that's where Together Alone came from. I had never done a jazz song like that, and I felt really honored to do a jazz song just because, I started as a little folky girl. It's really cool for someone to trust me with a song that is that important. So, yeah.
Yeah. Such a beautiful song. And thank you for your honesty and vulnerability when it comes to music. I think that's so important, because when you hear a beautiful song and you listen to the songwriting, you're like, yes, like I know exactly what she's talking about. Like I'm not alone in what I'm going through. And that's so
yeah. I just think that with the world being a little more contrived these days, that it really just will never hurt to be honest and kind and open with people. So I appreciate that very much.
And then Tingle, which
then Tingle.
A
little bit of a shift.
Yes.
Yeah, I had this song sitting in my song bank, and it had been recorded since finished recorded probably, gosh, I want to say by the beginning of 2020, before everything went crazy.
Yeah.
So that song I had sitting in my song bank, and releasing music at the time, I came out with Out of My Head, and then Astronomical Love, and then Fire Breather. And it just got to a point where I was like, I just don't think this is appropriate anymore. There's just something so much bigger and so much greater than me trying to make moves right now, that I don't think it would be appropriate for me to put out another song, especially a song that Tingle is, right? It's just not appropriate vibe-wise.
Yeah.
So I was in a position this year where cases seemed to be like rapidly decreasing in terms of COVID. Summer was approaching. Everyone was really hella excited about, like a lot of people being vaccinated. It was like, we can go out and like we can see our people again, and we can actually have the summer that we wish we had last year. And this song to me is just, Tingle's just about like having fun and being with your people. And it was just a cute little summer song that I wanted to put out into the world. I've had that song written for years. And so it's nice to be able to have some type of physical, digital representation of the song out there now. But I wrote it about my husband. It's just about somebody who, that's what I love about him and our relationship, is that he can still take my breath away in our day-to-day life of like, he doesn't have to do anything. He just has to make me smile, and or I have to see him smile, and I'm just like, I'm happy, I'm great. He makes me laugh every day, and that's what this song, I just wanted to embody the playfulness that exists within our relationship, and that he's taught me to be playful. I can be a serious human sometimes and be a little rigid in my day-to-day practices and be a worrier, but he's taught me to be to go with the flow and to have fun, and things might not always go the way you want them to go, but that's life, and we just got to roll with it. And I just wanted a song that was about playfulness and fun, and to be lighthearted after the craziness we had all experienced. So that's where Tingle, I was like, great, summer bop, put it out there, have fun. If you like it, great. If you don't, thanks for listening anyway. I appreciate it.
Fun summer vibes. I love it. And then on Instagram, you were pushing like blue and yellow and red, and it was all vibrant. And I was like, whoa, this is like really cool. Like, and when I looked at your photos, I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome.
Yes, the video was a lot of fun to shoot. Actually, the guy in that video is my husband.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wanted something. The last few songs had been so introspective and like heartbreaking in a sense, that I wanted to chameleon into the other part of me that I know, like, a part of me is serious, but I know a part of me is really playful and fun and stupid and like loves to be dumb. Like, I don't know, there's a part of me that just loves to be joyful so much. It's so interesting that it's contrasted so heavily with what I deal with in terms of my mental issues. But I just wanted the video to portray those like candy colors, that sweetness, that quirkiness that I feel like our relationship has. It was just a really fun video to do. Our dear friend Nick Goldston, that we went to college with at Berklee, he directed all 3 of those music videos, including Tingle. And it's such a joy to be able to create stuff with people that you've known for that long. We're talking about knowing people since college. I've talking about how I still hang out with people and have dear friends from the a cappella group that I was part of. When it's a team of people that you just love and adore. It just makes it all so much more fun and so much more enjoyable. Yeah, and it killed that video. It was great. So much fun.
It's so awesome. I love it. So guys, if you haven't watched that, please go watch it after this interview. So Samantha, tell all the beautiful people right now watching where they can find you on all your social media platforms.
Yes. Okay. Well, you're here already on IG, so that's halfway. You can find me at Sam SCH Music, as in Schultz. Same handle on Twitter. You can find me on, YouTube. If you just check out my name, throw it in the search bar, there'll be a bunch of stuff that comes up. I feel like there's so many places now that I can't keep track of. I have my own website, samanthaschultz.com, if you want to check it out. I'm trying to figure out the best way to start a mailing list. So if you're interested in that and hearing about the things that I get myself into on a monthly basis, you can check it out there. If you want to check me out on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, pretty much anywhere we have modern day streaming, you can check out my music, which is so incredibly cool. The fact that you can just click a button and there my songs are, that's really sick.
Yeah.
And then what else? I mean, that's kind of it. I'm trying to be better about social in terms of understanding my relationships so I can connect with you guys as best as possible. So I appreciate your patience in advance. I'm just trying to make sure that I have me figured out so that I can give the best parts of me to you.
Definitely. And how can people watching this right now support you, Samantha, as a musician?
Ooh, I mean, listening frequently on Spotify or Apple Music, adding the songs to playlists is really great for visibility. And for the algorithms. If you wanted to donate monetarily, I'm on Venmo at Sam SCH Music as well. I'm on PayPal at Samantha Schultz Music. I know that it's different for everybody these days in terms of financial stability. I myself am just getting back onto my feet. It's been a really busy summer because there's not been a whole lot of work for us musician types, but gratefully things seem to be moving in a positive direction. And I just actually also want to take a second to say thank you to everybody who did send me completely unsolicited donations during 2020 and the earlier part of this year. You guys don't understand how much that means to like open your email and have a stranger just be like, I really believe in you, have a coffee on me. That just like that would make my day in a time where there was not a lot that could make my day. So thank you so much to all of you who support whoever your favorite artists are. It just is, it's so incredibly mind-blowing, like how generous you guys can be. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, that's so sweet that people were doing that. I love that.
It was really cool. It was very cool.
Well, that's all the questions I have for this evening, but you're going to perform for us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Take it away.
All right. Old Faithful. I've had this guitar since I was 15.
Oh.
It's been a while.
Amazing.
Yes. All right. I think I'm going to try my hand at the quiet here. And this will probably be a little closer to what the original, not vision, but version of what this song was. It was just me on my guitar in the living room and had a good cry while I wrote it. But if y'all ever need just like a moment to find that peace, do it. It really, really makes a difference just to have stillness for a second. So here we go. I've been feeling kind of lonely, and you could help me with what I need. And I wanna put you hold me to the light of something I can see. You don't have to stay too long, 'cause I don't wanna break your heart. I'm scared my darkness might tear you apart. 'Cause if I'm being honest, I don't know if I got this. It's the weight of the pain of the world that's killing me. And if I'm being honest, I don't know how I'm gonna stop this, but a little love from you could set me free. Oh, the quiet with you is all I need. Oh, every day is like a lifetime, and I'm feeling hopeless and unseen. So, could you just give me a lifeline till these waves start crashing over me? No, I don't wanna waste your time, but could you stay by my side? I'm worried about these corners in my mind. 'Cause if I'm being honest, I don't know if I got this. It's the weight of the pain of the world that's killing me. And if I'm being honest, I don't know how I'm gonna stop this, but a little love from you could set me free. Oh, God, with you is all I need. It's all I ever need. It's all I ever need. For you to be with me. Be with me. So if I'm being honest, I don't know if I got this. It's the weight of the pain of the world that's killing me. And if I'm being honest, I don't know how I'm gonna stop this, but a little light from you could set me free. Oh, the quiet with you, the quiet with you, oh, the quiet with you is all I need. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. All I need. Won't you help me?
Yes! Thank you. That was beautiful. So S-Mall03 says, thank you for having Sam on. She's fantastic. Yes, she's fantastic.
That's so sweet.
So sweet.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, that was so beautiful.
Okay, and then kick it up a bit. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna do Tingle, which is just, I'll show you the two sides of me, y'all. Humans are complex, and I'm grateful to be complex and have an amazing journey to go through and to want to discover me better. And I'm just grateful that there are so many people out there like yourselves who care enough. So Ashley, thank you so much for having me. This has been such a great way for me to spend the early part of my evening, and thank you for doing what you do for independent artists and musicians. It's really cool.
Oh, thank you. I love it. I have so much fun talking to you guys. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me. All right.
Did it just get colder? Maybe a winter breeze. Felt it on my shoulders and down across my knees. A tiny ripple, I felt it in my spine. It sizzles and wriggles just cause you were by. And it's a funny feeling I cannot explain. When you get close to me, I feel it in my brain. The way your laughter hits the sky, the armor butter of your eyes. Baby, you got a good thing that no one else could ever make. You make my heart and let's sing. You make me tingle. It's a funny thing you see. You make me tingle. When I feel you next to me, I like the way it feels. I give it to the chills, and it ain't too hard to see. You make me tingle. Wasn't like a honeybee. You make me. Can I move in closer? You see, I'm kinda shy. I wanna get to know ya. So sit with me a while. You're something magic. I'm yours to captivate. So drastic, I feel it. The shivers activate. It's from the feeling I could try to explain. Boy, when you get close to me, my senses go insane. The rhythm of your voice so fine. The way you move is so divine. Baby, you got a good thing that no one else could ever bring. You make my heart and let's sing. You make me tingle. It's a funny thing you see. You make me tingle. When I feel you next to me, I like the way it feels. I give it to the chills, and it ain't too hard to see that you make me tingle. Rising like a honeybee, you make me crazy with the things you say, and it ain't too hard to see that, baby, I need you. Gotta know if you need me to. You make me, you make me tingle. Oh, oh, it's a funny feeling I cannot explain. You make me, you make me, you make me, you make me tingle. It's a funny thing you see. You make me tingle. When I feel you next to me, oh, I like the way it feels. Give it to the chills, and it ain't too hard to see it. You make me tingle, baby. Wasn't like a honeybee. You make me, uh, uh, uh,
Yes! Oh, I love it. And I love that you did like a slower song and then an upbeat song so people can kind of like hear the difference.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for your comments. Sosie, Tom, Marie. Guys, thank you so much for your comments. We really, really, really appreciate you hanging with us on this Saturday. So, do you have time for a couple questions from the audience?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Let's
Okay,
do it.
beautiful. I see we're a little over time, so I just want to make sure you're cool.
No, that's fine. I had you on my calendar.
Okay, cool. So guys, if you have any questions for Sam, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. Yes. So 2021, I cannot believe we're in September, but what else is coming up in 2021 for you? Shows, collaborations, singles, talk to us.
Yeah. So I have been working on music throughout 2021.
Okay.
And I'm just perpetually on this journey to finding my sound and trying to figure out what kind of music I want to make, what I am I happiest making in terms of music, who am I happiest making music with.
Yeah.
And there are two really phenomenal musicians and people, Chris Thigpen, who I mentioned before, and he and I already are like, we're going to keep it rolling. We're going to keep it cracking with writing new music. And then a dear friend of mine that I've known since college, his name is Dave McKay, and he is a phenomenal piano player, phenomenal human being, amazing artist. So I've been writing stuff with them and just trying to continue to hone that voice, that direction of where I want to go. And there's definitely going to be more music next year.
Nice.
I'm really excited about the stuff that I've been writing lately. It feels more me than it ever has, which I'm super stoked about because not gonna lie, I felt a little bit lost with the artist thing. You know, when you release something in 2011 and then don't release anything for nearly 10 years, there's bound to be some holes that you're like, who am I as an artist? So I'm really excited about the stuff that we have already got on the back burner, waiting to have its moment. And then also about stuff that I'm going to be writing. I feel like I'm finding my stride with the people that I'm supposed to be working with, and I'm really grateful that those people love me inside and out for who I am and understand what I bring to the table, both positive and negative, and the fact that we're able to cultivate a relationship where we can create something as cool as music together is all that I can ask for. So
yes. Oh, I love that. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
That's a really good question. Gosh, I feel like I've lived a whole lifetime out here in LA. It was 8 years at the end of August that I've been here.
Oh, wow.
Because it doesn't feel like that at all.
Yeah.
But one that comes to mind is one that was told to me years ago, was keep your pen in your pocket. In the sense of like, don't sign the first thing that hits the table in front of you.
Yeah.
There's always potential for other great stuff, and just make sure you've done your due diligence to shop around and find what is best for you. If you have the opportunities and offers presenting themselves to you like that, just take your time to vet fully before it's like, yes, this is the first opportunity that's come my way. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's one that comes to mind. In life overall, it's one that my sister and I were told growing up, was treat others the way you want to be treated, or the golden rule, right? I just find that it's so much easier to be kind and to be understanding. And that's just something I really believe in. You're going to reap what you sow. So you might as well plant something nice.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so important. Like, just treat people the way you want to be treated. Like, it's such a simple thing, but like, people tend to forget that. And I think we just need to go back to basics when it comes to that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then what's another? I don't know. parent wisdom, my dad would always say, I mean, both my parents would always say, treat others the way you want to be treated. But my dad is historically known for saying everything in moderation, including moderation.
Oh, I
so like, be cool with everything, but every now and then we also need to let loose and have a good time. So
totally. That's awesome advice.
yeah.
Would you ever record a fingerstyle guitar song, aka Tommy Emmanuel?
Ooh, that's very interesting. Y'all can't really see it, but I have this toy up here.
Ooh, very cool.
That has opened a lot of new ways to play guitar for me.
Yeah.
And something that I always feel like I'm drawn to when I'm playing this type of thing is more of the kind of fingerstyle jazz, semi-hollow body vibes that you would get from like, I believe like Chet Atkins, or I don't know, I was listening to a Diana Krall cover of an old jazz standard, and it had fingerstyle kind of picking jazz comping chords in it. And I don't know what it is about the way that type of guitar tone and guitar itself sounds, but it just sounds so nostalgic and amazing to me that there's a reality in which maybe the jazz playing comes out a little more than the Tommy Emmanuel. I wish I was that talented. Oh my God. Tommy, and there are so many fingerstyle artists out there like that I'm enamored with how incredibly talented they are with their playing. That takes so much time and so much dedication and practice that as much as I love fingerstyle picking, it's what they do is so completely different from what my fingerstyle picking has served me in my career. So I guess there's room for more virtuosic playing, but I feel like it's more of in the jazz realm, where there's just a lot of those beautiful changes that I really fell in love with in college, where I really learned about jazz music for the first time, and I was able to understand the structures that go into playing jazz music like that. So I don't know, maybe we'll do a jazz album. That would be fun.
That would be so awesome. I love it. So Sam, any final words for the room?
Oh my gosh. Man, life is long, but it's short at the same time, and you deserve to have peace of mind, have peace of heart, to have a life that you love, and people around you that love you for who you are with no conditions. And I would just say that's just the important thing of making sure that that we don't not having regrets is a tricky thing to not have in life. Yeah. But the fewer of those that you can have in your life, the more you can look back on your life and go, wow, that's incredible. Wow, I did that. Wow, I wasn't scared to tackle that job interview or speak openly about my mental health issues that I've been dealing with. I think it's just important to be authentically you and to be kind while doing it. And that's all that I've got to say about that.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I think you ended it on such a good note. Like, just be authentically yourself, no fear, and just do it.
Yeah. Right? That's what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to walk the walk too.
Yes. I'm with that. So Samantha, I just want to say thank you so much for spending your evening with me on a holiday weekend.
Oh my gosh. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm going to be flying out to Montana tomorrow morning for a wedding that's happening this Labor Day I'm performing at. So I'll be as close as I can get to home without actually being there. But this has been such a great way to kick off my weekend. And I just can't thank you enough for all the weeks of prep. And again, for just like having a space for original independent artists to do their thing and say their piece. You're amazing.
Thank you. This was so much fun. I feel like we're besties now. Please come back on if you have any projects coming up, anything you want to just come on my show and talk about it. I truly, truly, truly appreciate your time. Thank you guys for joining us this Saturday evening. Guys, if you don't already, please make sure to follow Sam here on Instagram. Follow her on Spotify, share the music, stream the music, Venmo, PayPal, all that good stuff. And if you liked tonight's interview, please make sure to follow me. I'm Ashley Live. This is Vibin with Ashley Live. This is episode 111 for me. So guys, if this is your first time seeing me, please go back on my YouTube and my website, ashleylivemusic.com, and check out all the incredible musicians I've had on the show. And I have more musicians booked out till November. So guys, come follow me and see who else I have on the show, because it's going to be a fun time.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. Be safe. Have a great weekend. Happy Labor Day, or I don't think people say that. No, they don't say that.
Have a great long weekend.
Yes. Be safe and have fun. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye.